and you're going to jointly present item 11, is that right, Pauline?
No, I'll do that.
You're going to do that, right? Okay, welcome, Andrea.
Good morning, everybody. So just three wee things just to bring up. First one is Sutton Place. It's a street that borders the red zone in Dallington.
What place?
It's Sutton Place.
Sutton, right.
It borders the red zone in Dallington, and the only access for the residents is through the residential red zone. You probably, I don't know if you travel through the red zone very often, but the roads and the footpaths are in very, very poor states. They are part of the horizontal infrastructure that is, I believe, the council's responsibility. The residents are really struggling to maintain quality of life, you know, just the accessibility to their properties. The footpaths, it was okay for a while because they could walk through the red zone, but now the red zone's been all fenced and you know, blockaded off. They don't have that ability anymore. So just flag, we're having a meeting with them on site next week, having trouble getting staff to attend just for availability reasons. And we believe there is a couple of other streets that this sort of similar situation applies to, where streets have sort of been, just by where the red zone boundaries have fallen, have ended up isolated.
So the actual access to the street is very difficult.
They have to go through the red zone.
Dave, could you possibly have a look at it and report back to the meeting in a month's time on Sutton Place?
Sure.
Is that okay? Just so that... Yep. Oh, sorry, it probably was you, Jane, sorry. One of you. Thank you. Glenn.
Thank you. Could we also expand that to look at what I call the red... No, seriously, the Henry and the board know about this. The red-green zone interface. So this applies both in... It's unusual and only in this ward, but it applies e.g. Dallington, Burwood, Avondale. It's neither... Well, it is green, but it's where the services are still present for residents to use, but not getting a flash return on them. So could we kind of have a...
So,
Glenn, memo or something that actually looks at that.
Glenn, let's actually address the real problems that the actual specific problems that people want addressed. Yep. So, if there's Sutton Place, if there's another one as well,
Burwood East.
I think
get the actual streets in terms of access. We'll start with Sutton Place. Yep. Tim's going to apparently tell us something. Are you, Tim? Chris, sorry. Yeah. Tim, we'll call him Tim. Sorry. Chris, do you know that they're both passing the buck to you? They'll teach you to come into the meeting.
So if we go back to the previous item, as the councillors may remember, last month we brought a paper to the council around the future use of the red zone in terms of infrastructure within there in different categories and decommissioning some of the unused wastewater network, etc., etc. And the decision of council was to ask us to go back to the community and the community boards to engage with them about those plans that were presented, and we intend to do that next month.
Oh, cool.
So the issues that are being raised here will be addressed through that engagement with the community boards and the affected stakeholders. Okay,
excellent. So at that time you can also address with the community board Sutton Place and any other specific ones that Glenn gives you, rather than a general area of the city. Okay, thanks very much indeed, Chris. Yanni.
So in the meantime, where there's really obvious places that need some immediate attention, and I don't know the details of Sutton Place, but Avonside Drive by Avon Park, where people are playing sports, is there a process that we can actually get some work done just to have it, you know, not a gold plating of the road, but actually just, you know,
at least
usable, without people having to walk through sort of, you know, ponds that are this deep.
Can you give all those to Chris? Like, so for example, Avonside Drive.
Well, I've raised it repeatedly.
Okay, so what's the specific area? Avonside Drive?
Avon Park. Avonside Drive between Kerrs Road and Gayhurst Road Bridge.
Okay, so can you address that one as well at that report back?
Could you just email specifically?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, but I just wanted to check though that we don't need to get a whole full report come back. You have the capacity to actually go on and do sort of interim.
So that's what they're going to meet with the board about. And so I'm assuming you have the capacity to go and actually put a layer.
We're also going to have to look where it sits in relationship to the infrastructure that we've decided to keep and not keep, and
Yes.
all the rest of it, and it depends on, but by a brief description, we've just built the Gatehurst Bridge, so we've definitely got a bridge there. So, that
Well, we've just put a new toilet in Avon Park.
Yeah, how about flicking in the email details to us, and then we can actually get the appropriate people to have a look at it.
And if you can follow up faster, you will.
And they're coming back to to Burwood Pegusus Community Board. Okay, you good with that, Andrea?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, Ellie?
Really quickly, and I don't know whether this is appropriate, but I did have a call from someone who lives in that spot that you just mentioned between Gatehurst and Wainoni. There is a massive rubbish issue along there. Is that being addressed?
Not that I know of.
Jane's really good on rubbish.
It's become a dumping ground. Mattresses, chairs,
So
rubbish.
Avonside between
Gayhurst Road, Avonside Drive between Gayhurst Road and Wainoni.
right. This
is
is our own.
basically a dumping ground.
This is our verbal snap, send, solve.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Probably with most of these, if people ring you up, if you do that snap, resolve and whatever we've got now, we'll get it done rather than waiting for a meeting to bring it up.
I've done it 3 times.
Okay, because then we'll just flip that on to Sarah and the
Yep.
people that get into the
Okay.
I have done that 3 times.
Right.
Someone was going to send a photo of the whole of New Brighton.
Right. Okay. Can I? Is there anything else?
The other couple are just sort of in that sort of same area as the bus service down Dallington.
The bus service down. You know, we
through
don't control
Dallington.
the bus services, don't you?
Yes, yes, I think Glenn wanted to speak.
It's not that it's a sore point or anything.
We do, yeah.
David Stenhouse has been to the board, to the Dallington RA and looking at some future options.
Right. Okay. Okay, Pauline.
Yeah, I've just got a question on page 21, your deputation, 2.1.
That was my next one, yes.
Oh, sorry, okay.
No, that's fine.
Well, now, they're questioning the criteria used to assess those trees.
Yeah, there seems to be...
And is this part of the district plan review, stage 3?
No, this is I think around Sarah and their land clearance program, or their house clearance program and things. They seem to be only assessing trees on the type and the health of them, but not looking at the cultural significance to the community of those trees, or to the previous owners. There might be some significance. I know, I don't know what the correct term is, but I know Maori, they bury placentas under trees, and so those trees have significant.
So what did you decide to do about it?
They've decided to bring a representative from Sarah to speak with them, but my question is, and that's good, but what are they wanting to do? Are they wanting to be able to take trees out, or have they identified trees they're going to take out?
Who are you talking about? You're talking about Sarah or the owners?
Sarah.
Well, Sarah seemed to... we don't really understand the process of how Sarah decide there's trees that appear to be marked as to be saved, and then a week later the residents will go and find the tree's gone. So
that's what I mean, like there's a bit of a time element here if they're actually being taken out and people have concerns about them.
Yeah.
So,
So why are they taking out any trees that are reasonably significant?
yeah, don't know.
We can't work out.
Well, I'm just
It's one of
thinking-
those situations where Tree Tech have the
Contract.
the brief to determine which trees get removed and the brief to actually remove them. So they sort of, it's in their best. It appears that it's in their best interest
could I
to
perhaps
decide
suggest
that
that
trees need removed.
We as a council write to Sarah and ask them to, if they are removing trees, if they could push pause until the community board has had a conversation with the representative. Would that be a good way forward?
I'm just wondering, Andrew, I'm not sure if it's chaired or what committee trees come
Or
under.
IT probably, trees.
Is it you, Phil?
It is a heritage item. That is the...
But no, some of
trusted-
them won't be heritage items. Some of them people will have major concerns about, but they won't be listed as
Well, I
heritage
think-
items.
Yeah.
But what
yeah.
I'm trying to
That
make
was the
sure
trust of Annie
is
Wilkes.
that there's actually not removal, unless there is, it's diseased or something, that the trees aren't removed. I don't see why we're removing trees from the red zone, or why Sarah is. Phil, yeah. But that's just to the board level. I'm just wondering if you might want to do something through your committee to help the board on this.
I think we're getting probably 90% of our requests to Sarah to come to the board declined at the moment.
Really?
Yeah, we have not been able to get Sarah engaged at our
So
board.
Phil, would you
at
just
all.
like to help them and maybe make it a part of ITE that deals with the trees in the red zone? Because I don't really see why they're taking them out.
We could ask some questions and get perhaps some answers.
Yep. So Phil will work with you, Andrea, on that one. Okay? And if necessary, we'll elevate it to the infrastructure committee. Yep. Andrew.
Yeah, I think it's important that we do look at it as a potentially bigger than just the Burwood Pegusus board issue. I realise that the Burwood Pegusus board is where this has come to light, and certainly recognise your interest in it and value the work that you've done. But certainly when we get to look to clearance of the red zone in the Port Hills as well, this is exactly the kind of thing that may become an issue there, depending on future use. So I think there's a metropolitan aspect or a wider than just your ward issue to this, which means that it would be good for the committee at least to have some oversight, if not some direct involvement.
Yeah.
Yanni. Can we re-establish those meetings we used to have with Sarah and CCDU, which have been cancelled for the last 3 months?
Yep.
Because
that's a different issue, because that's the central city.
No, it's not. Diana Magsden actually had come to council.
Yes, she has.
There was a proposal. We were talking to Sarah about trying to get a stay of execution for the demolition of the house and the garden, and it's now all been demolished in Clearfield. So, you know, it just seems to me that we still need that regular
including
relationship.
That house?
Yeah.
Has that been done?
It's all gone. So, and, you know, there's a wider issue about preserving. It's not just the trees. The trees are really important, and I agree. I can't see any reason now to be making decisions about trees in the red zone. But there are cultural areas of social significance that should be protected, or should at least have a stay until we can work out as a city what the best use is. So if we want community facilities or cafes, or to service the bike trails or the farms or whatever happens in the red zone, then actually we need to have a bit of a strategic think, whether it's an age of a building, a condition of a building, and the social aspects, which is the important thing. I know that we just heard that through Sarah that they at Ched, I think it was Ched, that they're actually doing a survey of former red zone residents, a wellbeing survey. People aware of that? It was at the community board seminar. So they're actually going and talking to the people that, just to get their feelings about it. So I think it is timely that we raise it, but I do think we need to, at a governance level, talk to Sarah
so
on a more regular basis.
I remember the submission from Diana. It was excellent, and I'm amazed that they've demolished that house. But I'm wondering if you might just expand that slightly, because there are areas that aren't just trees. But if we start with trees and just take it from there, I think we'll be fine. Yeah. Okay, you good with that? Glenn?
Thanks, Vicky. Just while this is making its way through the standing committees, could we support Pauline's idea of asking Sarah to push pause? I think that sounds a reasonable...
Well, I'm assuming that Phil's going to get in touch with them later this afternoon when we finish the meeting.
With
Aren't you,
Sarah?
Phil? I'll give you their phone number. Yep. Okay. Okay, anything else?
No, that was
okay,
all.
thank you. Moved, Dave, seconded, Glenn. I'll put that report as a whole. Those in favour, please say aye. Those opposed, carried. And your next one on page 31. Anything major in that?
No.
If not, moved, Glenn, seconded, Dave. Put that. Those in favour, please.
Why is the board making decisions on our ward in terms of Woodham and Gloucester Street?
Which part are you looking at?
You know how Glenn likes to think big.
31. Yeah, so we've had Spraden and Heathcote making decisions about the central city.
Okay.
Now we've got third person.
Okay, so the message is, could you confine yourself to your ward?
Well, no, actually, there just needs to be some communication. I mean, it might be a perfectly legitimate thing, but it should actually be referred to our board before start.
Which one is it?
This is 3.1.
3.1.
The board decided that staff were requested to consider 2 bus shelters for the Woodham Road Gloucester corner could be reserved, pending possible changes to Route 44.
Okay, so would you like that referred to your board as well?
Well, I think it should before the request is made at start.
Okay, and that it be referred to the Hagley Ferryman.
I think it's a case of your ward is my ward, mine is yours. Let's think together. This is for Dallington residents, so it may spill over into Hagley Ferrymead, but I think we can just take a joint up approach. Would be
Sorry,
very helpful.
Woodham and Gloucester Street is well within our ward's boundary.
Okay, if it's within their ward, it goes to their ward. That's the rules, Glenn.
We'll ensure we have
Good
the
try,
passports ready.
It's just good that people know where their ward boundaries are.
With you raising an issue, it's actually asking staff to do something that our board has no...
Right, okay. So they'll be referred to the Hagley Ferrymead Community
So you need to
Board.
request
That's fine.
that deputation.
We'll do that. Yep. Okay, with that addition, so 3.1 is to be referred to Hagley Ferrymead before they do anything drastic. Okay, the report as a whole with that amendment. Those in favour, please say aye. Those opposed, carried. Thank you very much. Oh, you've got more. But wait, there's more. Page 35. Andrea, anything in there?
No.
No? If not, moved Glenn, seconded Dave. I'll put it. Is it all in their ward, Yanni? I'll put that. Those in favour, please say aye. Those opposed, carried. Thank you very much indeed. Oh, wait a minute. There's more. You might want to wait there.
So the next item is the one that we shared the boundary with Shirley Papanui Ward. So
Yeah, I wasn't I wasn't able to attend that meeting, so I've deferred it.
But
over.
your board's fine with it?
Well, I assume they
Yep.
they moved
Okay.
it.
So this is the proposed Martian Road, Lower Styx, Hawkins Road intersection improvement and widening of Martians Road Bridge. Now, just briefly, this is quite a historical intersection. It's quite a black spot. It's like shades of Gardeners Road, Sawyers Arms. The Spencerville Residents Association in particular have been pushing for safety measures at this intersection for, well over 10 years that I know of. The problem is the intersection is actually offset, so Styx and Hawkins, Lower Styx are offset, and Martians being so busy, people are actually just taking serious risks there to get out. Apart from that, it's actually part of the Plan Change 30 consent conditions for Preston, so the agreement is that this intersection would be upgraded, and the fact that traffic lights will be installed here means that there's road improvements that have to be made, widening for cycle lanes, and consequently the bridge will have to be widened as well. So that's basically the two community boards had, we've had 2 briefings, 2 joint meetings about this and asked lots of questions about it. So it just seems to me that the right time is now to do this, and it's been a long time coming. There's also NZTA funding of 54% for this whole project. Some of it's actually been received in advance, so it's not a total cost to council.
So thanks, Pauline. So you'd like to move it?
I'll move it, yep.
Yep. Is there a
second
seconder?
I had another comment to make as well.
Glenn seconding it? Yeah, Glenn seconding
There
it.
were two issues that were raised. One's on page 91 that's now been included as a recommendation, and that is that there didn't seem to be any consistency in the cycle lane carry-on for left-turning cycles, so that's now been included as a continuation. Another concern that was expressed by some of the community board members was that when staff look at an intersection like this, their brief generally is for a certain area around the intersection and no further beyond it. So there's a measurement within which they consider the intersection but not beyond. And there was some criticism of that because it's almost siloed, like you're looking at an intersection without looking at what the situation is further down. So if you've got cycleways, for example, on the bridge, you're not looking at what happens further down the bridge when it's outside the intersection. So that was taken on board, but it might be worth others being aware of this as well, that there isn't often a larger strategic look at what happens beyond the intersection, and I think that needs to be looked at.
And I think carrying on from that, we all know that Martians Road is carrying a lot of traffic, and increasingly so, and it probably eventually would have, the whole thing requires upgrading. It's just a question of where do you stop and start, and when do you do it, and how do you afford it. But this intersection improvement is going to be a very welcome addition to the community safety, I think, and the traffic flow.
Okay. Phil, Yanni, Jimmy.
So I'd be surprised, while the focus was on the is at the intersection, I'd be really surprised if staff had not also taken a holistic view of the whole road. I don't know if staff would like to comment on that, but that's my understanding, although the report is succinct and focused, that in fact there would be an objective view of the wider route.
Okay, Andrea, since you're sitting in the hot seat, you're free to leave the space if you want. Otherwise, you might get questions. Did you want to answer that?
So we do take the wider view, obviously through the strategic plan and the network operating plans. This fits within, I guess, the 10-year plan or even longer for what we need to do with the road network. This intersection, as has already been stated, is of a major concern. It's one of the, I think it's within the top 100 within the country in terms of its safety record, or poor safety record. With Preston's coming on stream, and they're currently starting to build their northern access. They've started that last week. That means we will get people coming out of Preston subdivision onto Lower Styx Road. If they're heading north, they will want to turn right on Marshlands Road, and currently that is it's a very unsafe manoeuvre. It comes with a lot of risks. You can't go straight across from Lower Styx Road to Hawkins on the far side. That's a banned manoeuvre because of the safety concerns. So this is a very high priority intersection. So in the design of it, we have addressed future needs that may come about, but it's not seen their needs at this time in terms of getting cyclists through this intersection safely. That's been addressed in the design. Ahead of and beyond the intersection, with the future plans, there will be a reduction in the through traffic on Marshlands Road. So at this time it's not seen that the cycling outside of that intersection is of a greater concern. It is proposed by NZTA to put a parallel route up the Northern Arterial when they get to build their motorway, so that will be a cycle route, if you like, the longer cycle route from Kaiapoi or northern areas into Belfast and as part of the city. So we've provided a design for a safe movement of cyclists around this intersection, which currently doesn't exist, and also for pedestrian safety as well in terms of crossing the road between the two reserves on either side. So really the design has addressed the future proofing that we see may be needed to line up with other developments in the future, but are not necessarily required right now.
Thank you. Sorry, I've got Yanni, then Jimmy, then you can have another go.
Yeah.
Oh, was it directly related to it? Go for it.
Thank you. Page 57, when it was brought up at the meeting, the very issue that I've just raised, I asked staff specifically about particularly the piece on Marshland Road at the top of the page, heading north. You'll see that what is marked as a proposed curb stops. Now, that area along there, I understood, was going to be part of the cycle, or the area for the cycles, and I asked, why does that suddenly stop there? What happens to the cycles? And I don't mean to contradict what we've just heard, but we were told that the focus for the staff was within the immediate area of that intersection. So that doesn't actually marry with what we've just heard. You'll see how the design does just stop, and the reason for that, we were told, is that it is outside the brief for the redesign of this intersection.
Do you want to comment any further?
So, I mean, in a way, that's in terms of the brief for this intersection, it has, yes, there is a limit in terms of the extent down each road that the design goes, but it has provided facilities. Currently, north and south of this intersection is a reasonably wide road reserve with provision for cyclists within the sealed carriageway. Around this intersection, though, we specifically identified safe routes for cyclists so they can go from that wider road into the intersection into a marked lane, or you will see in the resolution it makes it a special purpose lane through the intersection, either straight through or turning left or right. So whilst the design hasn't extended beyond the limits of this, because obviously we're constrained by the scope for the LTP funding and the project itself, it has addressed what needs to happen or how we connect either side of this intersection through that intersection. But outside of the extent here, north and south, there is, while there's not marked cycle lanes, there's assessed to be width within the sealed carriageway that will accommodate cyclists.
It is, it's very wide going north of there particularly. There is a wide berm site, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I've got Yanni and then Jimmy.
So what I don't understand is we're building an intersection for all the cars, we're expanding it for the private lane change, but for cyclists, so you'd assume if you've got people going to new subdivisions, you'd also have a demand for cycling. We're putting an on-road cycle lane on a really busy road. Why aren't we thinking about the new guideline standards that we have in terms of, you know, the safety aspect and actually doing something? Because this would seem a really good stretch where you could actually have an off-road parallel cycle lane that would be a much safer alternative.
So under the Major Cycleways program, this isn't identified as one of the major cycleway routes. The northern route, as I say, is being addressed by NZTA as part of their northern arterial design in terms of a cycle route parallel to the motorway design that's currently under design to be able to enable access from further north areas into Belfast. This area here isn't identified either through the CTSP or the Minor Cycleways Plan as a major cycleways route that would enable or would provide separate off-road facilities. There are other future provisions in the LTP, I think it's about 5 years out, for northern connections. That may well fall within that remit, but it's not currently.
But even just for this intersection and the approaches, is there nothing we could do to make it safer for cyclists than what we're proposing?
As I say, we have provided in the design for safety of cyclists through this intersection. So the cycle lanes lead into the intersection. They're provided for through the intersection. You'll see in the resolution there's a couple of, there's 4 or 5 of the recommendations relate to creating a special purpose lane which is specifically for cyclists.
Okay. Just the other question I had was, in terms of the safety, do we have a list of the worst intersections in Christchurch, and can we get a copy? And where does this fit within the intersections in terms of the safety issues that we have?
So there is a national database. All authorities rate, they do a thing called Kiwi Rap, which rates the safety hazards within their districts against the national criteria. This one under that falls within the top 100. Yes, we do have a list which shows the positioning of our various intersections and so on.
Yeah, I was just trying to understand if there's other intersections that are more dangerous in our city that we don't have funding for, that we would want to fix.
How about we just get it's very difficult to hear you, just by the way, but how about we just get that list available to all councillors? I think we've actually seen it, haven't we? But could you just get that out again,
and then,
of the ones in Christchurch, obviously?
And then the final question from me is, given that this is being driven by the Plan Change 30, so origin of report generated by Plan Change 30, is it possible that we would get the developers who are benefiting from this to actually pay for the cost of it in a more significant way, given that this is being cross-subsidised across the entire city? How much are we getting from the developers who are benefiting directly from this?
So effectively the growth component of these two projects will be put into the developer contributions calculation. So by that way, the developers of Preston's will be paying their assessed contribution through the developer contributions to the growth component of this. Yep. So the growth component is basically the need for additional volume will go into the developer contribution calculation, which sits in the LTP, and thus in that way, rather than being specific to Preston subdivision, because there's growth elsewhere in this area that's affecting this intersection, not just Preston subdivision. So in a way, all of those developers that will impact this will contribute towards it because it is on that list.
Thank you. That's enough.
No, I was just going to say, would it be possible in future as part of these reports to actually get the cost that the developers, the DCs, so we actually see?
Is it even possible to do that? Because it's quite a...
basically, the total value of the growth contained within the LTP is put into the calculation. So it's quite difficult to identify
And
on
it's
a
spread over a long
project by project basis
Yep.
what a particular developer is contributing to that particular project, because
it's policy that we have as part of our LTP, and it has a schedule of all the different projects. So in the same way that we would be told NZTA are contributing 50%,
why don't you just get a copy of that rather than having to put it in each report? It's going to drive people nuts.
It's too much detail.
Unless there's a real appetite for that. No, Jimmy.
My question is whether this project is one of the council 995, all those the project will be within the capital program review or not, and also what's the criteria. Some of the kind of the program to present to the council meeting, some of them not yet. What is the criteria?
So I guess every project of the 995 are part of that review. This one, though, is effectively a legal requirement on council by virtue of the Plan Change 30 decision. We are obliged to do this under that decision through the city plan. It is also one of the highest priority. It's early in our LTP. It's programmed. Both of the projects, the bridge renewal and the intersection upgrade, are in this financial year and next financial year as part of the LTP. I believe they are the highest priority ones, or of the highest priority that we need to do in the coming 2 to 3 years. And as such, as I say, there is a driver to doing this, because Preston subdivision will be opening that intersection onto Lower Sticks Road, I would estimate, within the next 12 months, and we will get the traffic trying to get out of this intersection with the resulting concerns about safety.
Okay, thank you. Is there any debate on the subject before I put it? Glenn?
Perhaps a brief debate and support, and I put a hat on as a personal road user of this intersection in the past. As a cyclist, it is lethal to get across from Hawkins to Lower Sticks if you're doing the Brooklands loop. In terms of the actual bridge and the funding, when I first spotted it in the LTP, I thought, oh good, this could go towards a certain other bridge, but it doesn't quite work like that, and I think that other bridge may well happen. This is my recollection is the 4th most dangerous intersection in Christchurch. The Marshlands Road itself, in terms of capacity for cyclists, a lot of cyclists use it. It is the final leg of the coast-to-coast route now. There's plenty of width in that coming south. But as with all roads, I mean, you have to watch yourself the whole time. So I would very much like to support this project going ahead. It does have to happen there. There's a real safety issue there. It's lethal. So, yeah, I urge that you do please support this.
Okay, thank you. Glenn, Yanni, then Dave.
I won't be supporting this. I think we're going through a capital review, and that's timely. The issue for me, this is the cost of urban sprawl, and it's inefficient. Urban sprawl is inefficient. It costs more, and the people that are benefiting, I believe, my personal view, is paying a fraction of the cost of putting in the infrastructure. So every time we spend money, rates into doing these projects to encourage greenfields development, we are creating a more unsustainable city because we're not getting consolidation of our urban form. And in fact, in Christchurch, now the issue we have is that some of the roads that are really badly damaged from the earthquake aren't going to be fixed for 30 years. So this is a trade-off that we have to make as councillors over providing A-level quality service for growth in our city versus areas that are being hit hardest by the earthquake not having the budget to do the repairs that we need to do in a timely fashion to bring it up to the normal level of standard. So I support us taking a strategic approach to fixing our dangerous intersections, and we've heard the comment that, well, this is in the top 4. Well, actually, I couldn't see in the report actually where it fits in terms of the rankings. I think it's really important that as part of our capital review and as part of our LTP, we've actually asked for an annual list of the worst intersections in our city for cyclists and for traffic, and we've actually asked for a list so that we can address those, and I have no problem using that process. But I am concerned that we're increasingly spending huge amounts of money on growth in our city at a time when we can't afford it, because we can't afford to fix the broken infrastructure we have in other parts that, in my personal view, should be a greater priority.
Okay, thank you. Dave, then Pauline.
Thank you. Look, I will support this motion. I went out north yesterday and traffic was banked up virtually to at a standstill to almost Kaiapoi. This is not only a sort of a safety improvement for traffic exiting Spencer Park, but it's also facilitating better flows along Marston's Road as well. We have had some concerns expressed about cyclist safety along Marston's Road, and I have recollections of being a young high school student biking along Marston's Road to Shirley Boys High every day from north of the Styx Bridge, and I certainly wouldn't want my kids doing that at the moment. But I take some comfort in the fact that we are progressing with the Northern Arterial, and a cycleway will be built as part of that as well, which will provide a safer cycle route for those that are cycling north, and the reduction of traffic on Marston's Road with the Northern Arterial will again make cycle safety, I think, a little better on Marston's Road. This is a particularly vulnerable corner, as Glenn has indicated, and it does rate rather highly in the accident statistics for the city. So I think on those points I'll conclude and say that yes, I will support the motion before us today.
Thanks, Pauline.
Thank you. Yeah, look, I don't think this is necessarily totally related to urban sprawl, and in some ways it could be a godsend to us that it was a provision of Plan Change 30, because it has possibly accelerated this in our program. As I said before, this has been on the list of dangerous intersections for many, many years, and Spencerville Residents Association have lobbied the community board for a very, very long time over this, because it's been such a dangerous intersection. It's also, don't forget, it's a key intersection for people getting out to the Spencer Park camping ground in the summertime, out and in, and that puts a lot of strain on this as well. We've also got the issue of a lot of traffic coming through from the Waimak as well, because everybody's moved out. So, you know, I think Preston's is here now, it's provided housing, we've got to go with it. We can't just say, well, Preston's drove this. I say it didn't drive this completely, it might have added to it, but there's other reasons for it. If you look at all the market gardens down Marston's Road and the traffic, the people accessing those veggie places, not just on weekends, but during the week, it's actually getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So, in my view, this is going to be a very, very welcome improvement in this intersection, and particularly around the cycleway safety. And thanks, Glenn, as being a cycle user, for giving us that first-hand information there, because you can see just from the plan it's going to be much, much, much better for cyclists. It's a horrific intersection, and I really look forward to this. I do hope everyone supports this right now. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to put it, unless there's anything that's not said, I'll put it. Those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carried. Okay, moving on to item 12. Thank you very much, guys. Fendrelton Maimari, is Val here? Hi, Val. Welcome. Good morning.